Hi folks, how are you doing? This is Iqbal with NVIDIA Daily Analysis. So NVIDIA was up today as we expected yesterday. Now, tomorrow is the last day before earnings. In this video, we'll discuss how NVIDIA can behave tomorrow before earnings and the chances of NVIDIA going up or going down after earnings. I will present you different scenarios in this video. Now, let's get started. Starting with the daily summary, Nvidia opened at 125.05. It made a high 129.20. It made a low 123.88 and it closed at 128.30. That is 1.46% up. As we discussed yesterday, after looking at the historical data, that there was some possibility that Nvidia may go up today, but I was not expecting a big increase. So that's what happened today. Let's take a look data one more time. As you see in the last quarter, Nvidia announced the earning on May 22nd. So one day before the earnings, that is May 21, you see that Nvidia went up from 94.77 through 95.38. And if we go one more quarter prior, that is February 21, they announced the earnings. So as you noted, on February 16 through February 20, there was some drop on Nvidia. And also the last day before earnings in the prior quarter, you see that Nvidia went down on May 22nd. Okay. And if you go one more quarter prior, on February 21, Nvidia also went down. So in both quarters, the last day before earnings, we see the same behavior. Nvidia went down. So tomorrow, I'm expecting a slight drop on Nvidia before earnings based on the historical data. But if you take a look last 5 days, it's almost flat, 0.77% up. No big change in last 5 days overall. And regarding my positions, as I bought Nvidia around 120 and 126, I'm still in profit. And at this point, I do not have any plan to sell Nvidia before earnings. But I guess it won't be a very good decision to sell Nvidia before earnings. So I'm going to take the risk. Now, let's take a look forward P for Nvidia. Nvidia forward P at this point is at 44.83, slightly lower than the last week closing. Palantir is still on the 90s range. Right now, 90.71. SMCI continues to go down. One more big drop today on SMCI. At this point, forward P is 17.23. So if Nvidia reports a very good earning and the sales guidance, that might also help SMCI. So tomorrow will be a big day for SMCI as well after earnings. AMD 42.03 forward PE versus the last week closing 43.28, slightly lower than the last week. So as I discussed my price range for Nvidia last week sometime, so this was my price range before earnings. So if you remember early last week, I came up with this price range for Nvidia before earnings. So at this point, Nvidia is still moving between these two values. So that's a good thing. Now let's take a look historical data analysis for NVIDIA. So in your screen, you see the cumulative percentage change for NVIDIA and also the graph. At this point, NVIDIA is about 35% from the previous earnings report. In the last quarter, as we noted yesterday, NVIDIA was up about 38.1%. So still some more room to go for NVIDIA for tomorrow. But looking at the historical trend for the last day before earnings, as we just noted, we saw the decline on Nvidia on the last day. So based on the historical data for the last two quarters, I guess it makes more sense to assume that Nvidia might go down tomorrow before earnings. Now let's take a look different scenarios. What can happen with Nvidia after earnings? In these tables, I put together the earnings surprise percentage and the stock price increase for Nvidia for last 2 quarters. In the prior quarter, the earning was announced on 22nd May and the earnings surprise was 9.68%. So after the earnings announcement, the next day Nvidia went up about 9.32%. And one more quarter prior, Nvidia announced the earnings on 21st February. The earnings surprise was 11.45%. The next day, Nvidia went up about 16.41%. So, using these data as reference point, I came up with three different scenarios for this quarter's stock price increase after earnings. Let's take a look. In this table, you see three different scenarios. The first scenario, I'm assuming that Nvidia is reporting the earnings with a less than 10% surprise. In that case, the percentage increase on the Nvidia stock price in the next day should be below 10%. In the scenario 2, if Nvidia reports the earnings surprise between 10 and 15%, then I think that the next day Nvidia should go up about 12%. In scenario 3, if Nvidia reports the earnings surprise more than 15%, then probably the next day Nvidia should go up about 15%. But the scenario 3, in my opinion, is unlikely. I don't think Nvidia should be able to report earnings surprise more than 15%. And scenario 1 is tricky. So less than 10% can be any number below 10%, right? But if Nvidia reports the earnings surprise just a few percentage point, maybe 4% or 5%, probably that won't be a big surprise for the market. In that case, I'm guessing Nvidia should not go up next day more than 5%. Okay, or maybe Nvidia can drop next day because the earnings surprise less than 5% may not be a great news for Nvidia and overall market. And also, this sheet I'm going to upload to my Patreon account. So if you are my exclusive Patreon member, you can access this sheet from there. Now, let's take a look some news regarding Nvidia. You see some news regarding Nvidia on your screen. Almost all of the news today is talking about Nvidia earnings. For example, this one that says US markets briefing, Nvidia Q2 sales likely to double, light miss may hurt shares. So it's kind of makes sense. I'm also expecting Nvidia sales outlook to be good. I'm not expecting any miss, but if that happens, yeah, they're right. So if Nvidia missed the sales revenue or guidance, yeah, that won't be good news and that should bring Nvidia stock down. And also this one that says Nvidia stock Q2 earnings preview. Analyst says AI cycle far from over. Company has first mover advantage. So this also talks about earnings. Now the next one that also says that Nvidia has all the pieces in place for a positive quarterly earnings surprise. So most of the analysts are expecting a positive surprise, including me. Now the next one that says Nvidia earnings could show the weakness but not enough to topple the stock. Yeah, on the sales side, I'm not expecting a weakness, but on the earnings surprise side, I'm expecting some kind of slowdown on the earnings surprise. We'll take a look what happens tomorrow. And also this one that says Nvidia's bonds in demand heading into earnings. As investors eye companies expected to benefit from AI spending. So that's a good thing. Nvidia's bond also going up. Now, this one is different, and that talks about consumer confidence. So it says that US equity index is mixed as investors weigh surprise consumer confidence gain ahead of Nvidia results. Let's take a look what happened regarding consumer confidence number today. As you see on your screen, the consumer confidence came 103.3 versus the forecast 100.9. So that's a good thing for the overall market. Whenever the consumer confidence goes up, it gives a signal that consumer are feeling comfortable regarding their spending. In the last four cycles, the numbers are higher than the forecast. So that shows that economy is going in the right direction. And the chances of recession is very minimal. And also one more price target increase for Nvidia today. I don't know how to pronounce that, but there is a price target of Nvidia from 140 to 145. So now this talks about Nvidia technical indicators that says Nvidia stocks technical indicators show bullish momentum ahead of Q2 earnings. As we noted yesterday, I'm showing some positive momentum, but I'm not seeing any strong bullish momentum looking at the technical charts, as we noted yesterday. So, all other news are mostly about NVIDIA earnings. So, let's move on to the other AI stocks. If you see on my watch list, some stocks are red and some are green. So, today was a mixed day for the overall AI sector. SMCI is the most negative today, and the highest positive is NVIDIA, that is 1.46%. And regarding the economic calendar, as we noted yesterday, no big data is coming before the NVIDIA earnings. So NVIDIA earnings is the next big thing that can move NVIDIA in next few days. So I wanted to tell you guys, do not make any stupid transactions before and just after earnings. You might notice some kind of volatility tomorrow before earnings, but don't get trapped. Okay? Hope to see you after earnings in the next video. I hope you like the video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.